Hey everybody, what's going on? Pejman Gadimi here, founder of Watch Trading Academy and founder of VIP Motoring, the world's first alternative asset investment bank. Here today with Cal Knight.
What's up, guys? Cal Knight, watch trader and Watch Trading Academy mentor.
Here to make an awkward video to tell you a little bit more about what watch trading is and ultimately kick off this incredible YouTube channel where we are going to share quite a lot about why not only watch trading is such an incredible investment, but also an incredible way to create cash flow. Because as you may or may not know, watch trading has been around for quite some time, and watches have been an incredible investment vehicle for many, many people out there. You may have heard it from celebrities like Kevin O'Leary talking about the power of investing in watches and how watches have been his best asset class investments in the last 4 years, or you may have even seen some of your favorite celebrities and other athletes wearing anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 to even $1 million watches, and may be wondering why would they be spending so much money on something so small, right? And so, me and Cal have decided to come together and ultimately create this channel to not only supplement our Watch Trading Academy program, which can be found at watchtradingacademy.com, but also have come here to ultimately bring more awareness to some of you who maybe are not familiar with watches and are not familiar with why watches are investments with this channel throughout the next few months with updated content as much as we can. So I wanted to just first off thank Cal for joining me today, and he has not only been an incredible success, I would say, in the world of watch trading, but he's also been a perfect byproduct of an individual who started not knowing much about watches and progressing through now becoming not only the top student at Watch Trading Academy, but also one of the best teachers we have that is now giving back to our community and teaching. So I appreciate you doing this channel with me. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of shenanigans.
Yeah, lots of shenanigans, lots of good information.
And more shenanigans.
More shenanigans, yeah.
More shenanigans.
Yeah.
We got to make it fun because I think people are going to get bored if they just watch
hell yeah,
like a brown guy and a white guy. Aren't you like a quarter black?
Yeah, mixed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you imagine this guy's actually like black?
Like an eighth.
Yeah.
That's all the good parts.
So it keeps going down. Like first it was
only where it counts. Only where it counts. We don't need to go there. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. We're definitely gonna keep it lively, and we're gonna make it a little controversial because watch trading is fucking great. It's very lucrative, and it's a great place to be. And so what I was going to ask you, PJ, is to dig a little bit and share with some of these folks out here, whether they already are trading watches or maybe they know nothing about watches, like what made you create Watch Trading Academy, and why is it such a good place to be investing in watch trading right now? Because when I started, I liked watches, and all I knew was I wanted to have these watches. But I didn't know that it could have been like a financial investment, that I could be making money from these things, and that I could even afford some of the shit that we're rocking today, like all gold pieces. So it's interesting.
I mean, yeah, you would wear gold, right? All gold, all the time. Back to the question at hand. But anyways, so, I think one of the big things people miss in the watch game is that they look at watches as a luxury that they spend money on. And I think for a very long time, I looked at it the same way. I thought to myself when I was very young, I want this Rolex, I want this Panerai watch. This was like a goal, something you looked at on the hands of people that were much richer than me. And I was like, wow, I just can't wait to be in a position to wear a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 watch just because it's such a status, right? Yeah. But one of the things I didn't understand then was that watches were so much more than just jewelry, right? I thought at first I used to say, well, watches are like jewelry to men because women have all these necklaces and rings and stuff, and men really don't have anything, so this has to be it. But I started realizing that it wasn't just about that. I started realizing that watches ultimately are a commodity. Just like, I know it sounds weird, but it's a commodity like gold, like steel, and like a lot of these other things that are being traded out there. And I couldn't understand how, but I knew that this was kind of the case. So I started it was about in 2003 when I started really like getting into watches and understanding that they're much more than just something you wear. And so I bought my first Panerai. I wore it for quite a while just as I enjoyed it, and then I got rid of it and I got all my money back. And so something kind of a light bulb went off in my head, and I said, well, wait, if I parked my money in this watch and enjoyed it for a couple of years, then it doesn't make sense as to why I can't park more money in a more expensive watch and keep going up and getting the watches I want, because I'm not really losing money by buying these watches.
Right.
So I started a firm back in 2005 that was called VIP Motoring. I still own that firm today. We are the world's first alternative asset management financial firm where we ultimately take people's money. You have to have at least $5 million and up in investable cash, and we put that into assets such as cars, watches, and art. So we park your money for you and allow it to earn you interest based on market values of these things going up. We have a unique algorithm that enables us to understand where the values in certain watches, certain art pieces, certain cars are going, and ultimately put money in there and allow it to grow with the market value of the item. Now, we understand that there's ways to protect the investment so that the actual core investment is never at jeopardy, and then we ultimately play on the margins by allowing it to just keep going up. Now, one of the things that's happened through that is that I've realized that obviously it's been a great investment for a lot of my clients. But as I was kind of doing this, I've also realized that, wait, $5 million is a lot of money to invest in something, right? Like you have to have you have to be in that 0.001% class to have that kind of leverage and already have real estate and stocks and everything else. So I started asking myself, I said, well, I feel like it's a disservice that normal people just don't seem to be able to like have access to this information.
Right.
Because I feel that while it's cool to do it with like $100,000 watches, $200,000 watches, and like do it by the numbers, it's also possible for normal people just like you to walk in a store and know exactly what to pay, what to buy, and make a watch not a purchase but an investment.
Right.
So I understood that this methodology could be applied to normal people, and so I decided, instead of just opening my firm up to clients with less wealth and say, hey, we're going to now allow anyone with 100,000 to come in and play this game, I decided that instead I would allow people to learn how to do this from home by creating a do-it-yourself-at-home version.
Right.
And so I created two platforms, one of which was Exotic Car Hacks, where I taught people how to do this with exotic cars, and the other one being Watch Trading Academy, which is a platform that ultimately has taught so many people to date, like over 6,000 members now, to learn how to buy, sell, and trade watches. A, from an investment standpoint, because some people just want to wear a great watch and don't want to lose money.
Right.
But B, also from a cash flow standpoint, because one of the things that I showed in the academy is that in just 1 year passively and part-time, I was able to create 800,000 plus in income for myself, not in profit, to be fair, not like in revenue, because watches are expensive, in profits in just one 12-month period, and doing this part-time. And today, we have students like you doing, well into $300,000-$400,000 a year, and then we have other individuals, other students that are also doing, like the same type of numbers, and then we have normal kids like Camden, one of our students, that's going through college,
right,
and making $5,000-$6,000 a month, which isn't that much money. But if you think about it, how many 17 to 20-year-olds are going to find a job that pays them $6,000 to $7,000 a month,
right,
and not have to go to work for like 50, 60, 70 hours a week?
Right.
Even if they do, they still won't get that money.
Right.
So,
no shit.
So it's like so much.
Like when I was going through college, I had to work like a shit job that paid nothing.
Right, and most people get a check that's like most people get a check for like $300, when they work for a week after taxes, right? And this kid's like netting, and what's actually interesting is I think of this and I go, well, this kid has to be the exception, right? But he's not. He's the rule.
No. Yeah.
And the thing that's incredible about this industry is, first, how easy it is to get in, with just $1,500. How accessible it is. Anybody that lives in the United States, in the UK, in Europe, in any non-third world country that has access to a post office or a FedEx office or a UPS office can have access to the same type of opportunity.
Yep.
And so to be in such an ease to entry product, into an ease to enter market like watches, by having $1,500, access to a computer, and also having just this idea that you can just get started then. You don't need, as long as you have the computer in the post office, then $1,500 to buy watches,
right,
you're good to go. Yeah. And then, the last thing that comes to mind is like, well, that's fine, but, like everything else, every investment carries risk. And the reality is that's true. But unlike conventional investments, one of the reasons watch trading works so well for my clients and for people in our watch trading academy is because watches carry what you call a bottom cash value, which means a worth in an item. When you invest in a stock, you're investing into digital goods, meaning you're not seeing the stock, you're not holding it. It's a piece of paper with a perceived value, right? However, with a watch, you're actually getting and receiving a piece in your hand, and that has to work no matter what. Meaning, just like real estate, you could say that the real estate market will go up and down, but there's always going to be a house that you have.
Right.
So you can always live in it, even if you're paying more or less, or
Right.
values are up and down. And I think it's the same thing. You can always wear your watch while the values fluctuate, etc. And your investment, your core investment, is always safe if you're applying all the right rules. And that's how ultimately Watch Trading Academy came to be and how we got started.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And honestly, what's so interesting about watch trading in general, and why I love it so much, is it's probably one of the most fun, most lucrative investment classes that you can do. Like, think about it. You're not putting in all the work and the headache of doing like the real estate market for that type of profit margin. I mean, you can make killer profit margin in like a day. And you even get to wear some of this stuff out that's costing, people perceive it to be like $100,000.
And I think it's so important because you said in a day. And I think that's the big difference between real estate, car investing, or anything else. Is like with a car, you have title work, you have DMV paperwork. With a house, you got capital gains taxes, you got paperwork, you got titles, deeds, and all that stuff. But with the watch world, all you have is an item that gets traded for money, and the transaction is done. So the speed of transaction is key, because you can, like the other day, I took a watch in for like $9,000, I sold it for $15,000, and it was literally in 3 phone calls. You know, now to be fair, I've done this long enough that customer base is there, so don't be fooled into thinking that you can just go in 9 and get out 15 in 5 minutes.
Right.
Practice is everything, right? You're gonna have to get good at it. But the reality is that even today, if I was really good in real estate, that would never be able to be possible, because it would take so long for the transaction cycle to happen. Versus watches, someone would argue, well, you only made like $6,000. Why? In real estate can make $100,000. Yeah, but for the time it's going to take you to close a real estate sale, I can close 10 watch deals in 3 weeks and make that same $100,000.
Yeah, with probably less risk and less of a headache.
Yeah, the headache part is the key, because the risk factor is also key, because, you know, we hear about recessions, we hear about markets changing, we hear about money just going up and down, and we hear about people saying, well, what if I get the investment and the market tanks, right? But here's the difference. With a house, now the whole perceived notion of the market has tanked is flooding the market, and people are scared to make an investment in a home because it's such a cumbersome thing to get into, get out of. There's a loan involved, there's that. But with the watch market, let's say you're even carrying $50,000 in watches in your inventory, like right in front of us here. And what you would do is instantly, like if you heard the market is changing, or it's moving, or in a month it's going to go down, you could literally liquidate everything and get out of your actual core principal, save it, and not be in a place where you're going to get hurt. And I think that is the key that most people don't understand, is that the safety is so much more liquid, so much faster, and so much more convenient.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's interesting, again, just to round it out about watch trading, is it's being brought to light now, because I think a lot of people who don't know this world like we do are sitting there saying, it sounds too good to be true. But the truth of the matter is, this is a proven industry. This is not something that's magic
been around
or
for
smoke
a
or
long
mirrors.
time.
This is not like we're going to show you some shit that like never existed.
Correct.
But the challenge has been that the people who were holding all of the profit and the information were not revealing that information. So when there was no information for like common folk to go in, they were going in blind and just being like, "Oh, I'll buy this because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing." And you see what I'm saying?
So it's so true, because one of the reasons I quickly became, after I launched Watch Trading Academy, which was originally known as Watch Conspiracy, I originally called it Watch Conspiracy because there was such a huge conspiracy between jewelers, right? Everybody was like, oh, I looked online, this seems to be a good deal, I'm saving $1,000, but they didn't realize the margins that existed in this game. And I think one of the big things we realize is when we look at, for example, like the car market, we have tools like Auto Trader, we have auction data, we have other things to help us make a decision on what is the value of something. But with the watch market, we really don't. And all we had is jeweler listings, which were all high because they were all like on it together. So it was like, well, wait a minute, we got to come up with a way to educate people on that the game is not just about buying and saving some money. It's about understanding where the values are, how these values come out, how the watch market is expanding or retracting based on changes in the industry and so on and so forth. And I think that was the reason why we called it Watch Conspiracy to begin with, because I was like, well, it's a conspiracy going on and nobody's gonna know about this, you know? But I think there's so much value in understanding that there's such a market there that's been kept secret for so many years. And even to this day, I've done this for now almost over 15 years. And I'm still learning new things. You know, like things come to light that I'm like, damn it, I should have known this. You know, like I knew this, I was part of this, you know, for like 5 years, and I was like, I played in this and I thought I was doing good, and now the truth comes out and I'm like, damn it, like I screwed up, you know. So it's good. It's really good that one of the things that you had that I didn't have, you had the advantage of having Watch Trading Academy as you were growing up and learning, you know. I didn't have that, so I had to go through all this trial and error for 15 years to figure out how to get to a place.
Right.
That's why you're able to do literally 50% of my profits in just what, you've been doing this for like 3 years full time?
Full time, yeah, something like close to a little less than that actually.
Okay, so less than that, and you're already in an executive level salary for, you know, a Fortune 500 company, and you're doing this literally for like from
full
home.
time, yeah.
From home.
Oh yeah, like we're here just talking,
it's
like wearing like a $50,000 watch. So it's pretty sweet. I can't lie. It's been an amazing journey, and to kind of round that out, what's really cool is I think people are gonna find that out too through some of this content, and it's gonna be fun. They're gonna learn a lot of shit that maybe they thought was out of their reach and not practical. And
and I think that's important because, you know, out of reach. I remember when you told me, I hope you tell people that story later, like about the Hamilton and the way you got started. In the whole watch game. But I would love for you to kind of share with people, like maybe just before we wrap up this intro video, just a little bit about how you discovered Watch Trading Academy, but more importantly, what was your mindset about money before? Because now you drive a Bentley, you know, there's like literally like $100,000 in watches in front of me. So what I'm saying is, but that's not how you started. And I think it's easy. It's easy for people to look here to watch a video and go, well, it's easy for him. He's got a $100,000 watch. You know, he's got this big house, whatever. Yeah. But like one of the things that's important to me is for people to understand that everything big has to start small, and everything small has to start somewhere, right? Yeah. So can you tell people maybe a little bit about like kind of briefly your transition to like how your mentality changed about money?
Absolutely. So I only started with close to $1,800 when I first started out. That's not a lot of money at all. I think if you have a just regular job, you can save up that money. And nowadays, I didn't even know this back in the day, you can use PayPal credit, and I probably could have bought something without using my own money. And my perception of money was interesting because I came from an okay family, but I didn't come from like a well-off family, and I was never, you know, educated on different types of financial strategies and shit like that, nor does the school system teach any of that. So I had this perception like you did, which was like, okay, this is an expense. This is not an asset. It's something that you wear to show off, to be like, okay, I'm accomplishing something, and that was it. And I knew no difference between, okay, what does this brand mean? What does this brand mean? Is this one good to hold value versus is this total shit? Like, I was a consumer at the time into the markets that I think a lot of people are, which is because we see Michael Kors slapped in our face all the time, because we see Fossil in these department stores, because we see Diesel and all this dumb shit that isn't worth a penny, that we just assume that because it's like a couple $100, then that's what I can afford, that's reasonable, but it'll look cool, and that's that. But then you go to sell it back, and people are like, "This is worth shit. Like, it's not worth anything." You
but it's really not, because I mean, a Michael Kors watch is nothing more than a Fossil watch, which is a $5 Chinese piece of good that has a Michael Kors logo on it.
Right, and that probably just blew someone's mind too. They're probably wearing a Michael Kors watch or a Fossil.
If you're wearing a Michael Kors watch, take it in the back. Yeah, or put it on Craigslist at least. Get some money out of it, and then use it for a real watch.
Or at least get lubed up next time you want to get fucked.
He has a very nice way of saying things to make you feel better about your life. Yeah,
so it was just confusing, and I think I had to take the loss and take the experience of being like, shit, like, I just saved up that money, and now it's like, it's either going to be gone or I just have to hold this now and deal with it. So I started trying to seek answers. Like, I didn't know what was out there. None of it, like, you had just started developing this course at a very fledgling stage with TikTok, the book, with...
it was a book first. That's funny. Yeah, it was
it was like a 10-page pamphlet that was like, watch trading, and I was like, interesting. And the Udemy course. So just to even find that, it was exciting because it meant someone had tried to do this. Someone knew there was something going on, and that if you just kind of listened and you read through it, you were like, oh, okay, these concepts make sense. There is an actual tangible asset value to these units. Like, there is a bottom cash value. So as long as you're never losing your principal and you're enjoying these things, then you're basically able to not lose money. That was the first base stage.
But you got to accept that, right? To be able to not be afraid. Like, you're not buying, and this is the thing I try to tell people, you're not buying a $3,000 watch when you're paying $3,000 for a watch.
Right.
You're simply transferring your money and I'm going to do a whole video on this for you, but you're simply transferring your money from your bank account to that watch. Now, if you lose the watch or you get beat up somewhere and someone takes your watch, yes, there's a risk you're going to lose your money, the same way as if you're walking around with $3,000 cash.
Right.
But the actual watch in itself, you're not spending the money on it as in that money is gone, and if tomorrow you had an emergency, you would never see that money again. And I think that's very important for people to understand too about this game.
Right, absolutely. That's base one. It's like step one. And then the layers start revealing themselves. Meaning like, okay, so now I had like that Rolex that I got as my next first trade with the same amount of money that I bought that Hamilton for and made money on it. And that was like a light bulb, like, oh, I can wear a Rolex and make money? And then the layers of the financial independence, and what was exciting was, oh, now people who make a lot of money, who I want access to, are looking at me like I have some sort of access or importance because I'm wearing this asset.
Correct.
So it's not even just like the money that you're making. It's like, okay, I'm not only investing something, I have all these other value adds in this industry.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
That are revealing themselves to me, like new connections, people that I do business with for a different business.
100%. Yeah.
That I'm making money off of the relationship because of the watch.
Because most people know that you can lease a car, but you can't lease a watch. So ultimately, you get to a place where you're like, if you're wearing a $100,000 watch, then you have to have. I mean, you were saying this yesterday when we were having a discussion when you were like, what were we saying about the $800,000 watch?
It was a Richard Mille RM12 Tourbillon for like $828,000.
But what you told me something that was really cool. I want you to tell people, like, what did you tell people about, like, what does it mean to have that watch?
Right. So the cool thing about that watch is $828,000, right?
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Even for me, it's a lot, just to be fair.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of money.
It's
like,
a lot.
For a watch,
But that doesn't
money.
mean that you can't afford it in the sense of just going and buying it, technically. But what is interesting is you can't just go out and buy that watch for $828,000 if you have, let's say, $900,000 to your name. Because if you lose that asset, if you lose that shit, you are fucked. So in order to own that asset, that means your life has to cater to you being okay with getting fucked out of $828,000 like it's nothing.
And it's crazy, right, to think about that. Because there's people watching this, they can be like, bro, I don't even have 10 grand. You're talking about a watch being like 800 grand.
Right.
But this is so true, right? Like this is the same as saying, like, a lot of people ask me, they're like, look, like, can you buy a $10 million house? Yes, I can technically take $10 million and go buy a house.
Right.
But I wouldn't be able to sustain a $10 million house with my current financial status.
Shit, yeah.
So if I bought it, that's all I would have, you know?
Right.
So I would rather have a $5 million house and have $2 million in cars and have $2 million in watches and still have investments and still have that freedom. So the point becomes that a lot of times just because we can afford something, like by physically having the money to buy it, doesn't mean we can or are in a position to afford it.
Right,
you know?
Yeah, 100%. And then, again, it kept expanding like, okay, so if this person is okay with losing it, but chances are they're not losing it, they're probably not a one-watch person, so they have more than that. And then they're going to all the places where they're not afraid of losing it, meaning they're going to the best restaurants, they're valeting everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they're never walking in shady alleys or shit because they're like, I can't walk around with an $828,000 watch and afford for something to happen. So
And
the
even,
entire lifestyle
what's his
has to
name,
go.
Nadal or something? I think the tennis player.
Rafael Nadal?
Yeah. So he did the RM collaboration, and a reporter asked him, they're like, "You're wearing $1 million watch?" And he goes, "Yeah." And while you're playing tennis, he's like, yeah, that's what it was made for.
Yeah.
And then he goes, she asked him, she's like, you're not worried that like you spend $1 million on a watch that's not excessive? He's like, no. In a couple of years, we're worth $2 million, so it's okay.
It's true.
And she's like, oh, okay. Like she just walks away.
I'm gonna go fuck myself.
Yeah, she's like, what do I not know about life? Like
Right?
I'm a reporter.
But it's interesting you say that because what was cool, again, when you go to RM or any of these places and they have networking events, immediately you become part of the society of human beings that only have access to that shit. So it's like, even if you're like not a fucking Rafael Nadal, you're someone.
Yeah,
like,
and you're
you
in
can
that
probably
same
network
circle,
with him.
of course, 100%.
And he's like, oh, well, this guy's got to be someone because at least you have enough money to fucking do it. So it's just all these layers of
it all goes hand to hand, right? So if you've ever heard of real estate investing, if you've ever heard of exotic car investing, if you've ever heard of stock trading, watch trading is just one more way to add one better. I said better, but you'll discover over time on the channel why it is better, but a better way to add one more layer of financial investments to your portfolio. And regardless that you have $1,000 to your name and are starting to invest, or that you have $10 million in your name and you want to take a portfolio of just $1 million in watches, there are ways for you to do this. But to be fair, just remember that on this channel, we're only covering a lot of the overview and what watch trading is. For you to be extremely competent in this very technical skill, you're going to need to actually take the time and learn all the basics, just like Cal did, just like so many other people are doing. So you can, some of the things you should be doing right this moment if you're interested in watch trading. First off, subscribe to this channel because you definitely don't want to miss the updates. Every piece of information will help you become a better investor. Secondly, make sure you like this video. Let's bring more awareness to this. This is one of the most untapped in market ever. And even if 10 million of you joined us today, there's still room for more. So don't feel like this is going to become saturated if more people know about it. And then leave us a comment. Let us know what your reservations are, what your thoughts are right on this video. The more we get to know our audience with this, then the better it is. So you guys have seen me on Exotic Car Hacks and other channels on YouTube, you know, teaching business, entrepreneurship, and then of course, exotic car investing. And this is now your chance to interact with me on the watch side, you know, because I try to separate my brands. And of course, interact with Cal, who's going to be very present in a lot of the videos we have. So make sure you subscribe, like this video, leave us a comment, and of course, in the actual description of this video, you're going to find a link to take in the 100% free training we've put together for you on learning the basics of if watch trading is for you and what you need to know. This is gonna be like an hour and a half, like completely free training. You don't have to pay anything. You can just click the link into the description, register for the training, and then attend it. It's on the computer, it's very easy, and really, you can't afford to not take an hour of your time to miss this. So do that. You'll see a lot more videos from myself, from Cal on this channel, and thank you again for joining us on this new YouTube channel of Watch Trading Academy.